A few days ago, Narendra Modi got a hero's welcome in Melbourne. Tens of thousands waving Indian flags and singing their national anthem. One man who knows the real India from the inside reached out after my post and shared some stories I hadn't heard before about the horrific Christian persecution in India, and warned that Australia is importing caste discrimination and divided loyalties. Today I have Professor Gautam Daniel Roy Chawdhury. He's a fifth generation Christian from Assam. He's a former senior private secretary in the Indian Parliament and previously was the officer on special duty to the Governor of Assam. Joins me today. And this is the conversation that they don't want you to hear. So thank you for joining me this evening.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine, Mr. Evan.
Now, you reached out after my post on Modi's visit and shared that story of Graham that I'd never heard before. Can you walk our listeners through this story?
Reverend Graham Staines was a missionary. He was working in the Indian state of Odisha in the right from the 60s, what is available in the public domain. And I have met people who have worked with him, in Indians. So he was a very mild and gentleman. And as an Australian, he had sacrificed all his, comfort. And those days, India was a really backward country during the 60s, 70s, or when the time he had come. So he had dedicated his life to work among the lepers. In the Indian society, if a person gets leprosy, he is outcast. He is ostracized from the society, and he is made to stay outside the town or the village. So he worked, and later on he got married, and he was really serving the people. And there are many forces which do not want Christianity to spread. If you see the Indian Constitution, it is the fundamental right of any citizen, what religion he practices, what religion he chooses, and it is the right. It is the right which no government can, make it cease to exist. So it is a fundamental right. So, Mr. Late Graham Staines, I don't know whether he was receiving some threat. It so happened he had gone with his two sons to another village for some church program, and in the night there was a person called Dara Singh. He is a right-wing Hindu fundamentalist. Of course, there are two kinds of Hindus in India. One is the moderate Hindu who wants to coexist with everyone, and one is the hardliner Hindu who wants that India should be only for the Hindus, no Christians, no Muslims, nobody. So he instigated a group of people, and they surrounded the jeep where he was sleeping with his sons, two minor sons, and they burned the vehicle. So when they tried to come out, they were being attacked by the people who had gone to burn. Basically, it's a mob. So after they died, lot of like lot of hue and cry was there. But of course, government had condemned it. But eventually, all those persons were arrested. They were given a death sentence, but it was again converted to life imprisonment. Among them, almost all of them have come out. So only the main culprit, Dara Singh, he still is in jail. Otherwise, all of them has been they have come out of the jail. So after that, there has been many other attacks on Christians after this incident. But this was one of the most gruesome and heinous crimes, not only against Christians but also on the entire human race. So it's very tragic. Currently, Gladys Staines, his wife, I think she's based in Australia with her daughter. So that is what we have come to know.
And my understanding is she ended up staying on after the fact for like another 5 years after this happened to her family. Like I just can't imagine going through that and then still having the heart, having the forgiveness to still
Yes.
serve the people, to still serve, to honor her husband's legacy and help that.
No, publicly she forgave the killers. As a Christian, she publicly she became a witness and she forgave the killers. That is what she did. She was awarded one of the highest civilian awards, the fourth highest civilian award of India, the Padma Shri. So her legacy and Gramston's legacy still carries on.
It's just a horrific thing that went on, and it's not an isolated case. You mentioned that there's been a lot of these type of incidents over the years, and that it's actually gotten worse over time. How was life for yourself and your family growing up in a call it a Hindu majority country with a very small minority Christian population? How was that growing up for yourself?
Well, the state where I live, it's called Assam. Assam, it's a very very peaceful state, and Assam is surrounded by a lot of tribal states which are predominantly Christian. So in Assam, I have faced discrimination, but I was not exposed to like attacks and all these things. But of course, it mostly happens in the rural areas where people do not have access to legal aid or do not have access to the help of the law. They do not have access to law or legal aid. So it happens like that. But now this poison, this hatred has spread even to my state also. And last year during Christmas, the groups had attacked churches. They had vandalized churches. Of course, they were arrested. That is a different matter. But mostly they used to attack the Christian schools, Christian hospitals, and of course the pastors, the missionaries, which is of course is a fundamental right as per the Indian Constitution. So for me
Yeah.
personally, well, by God's grace, I was not subjected to any issue as such. But of course, they do discriminate. If you have equal playing field or meritocracy, then we can do much better in life. But since there is a biasness in the society against Muslims and Christians, so we have like those kind of issue are there.
Yeah, so this persecution that people are feeling, and so they were serving lepers. People are trying to do, to look after the sick, to share their faith, to live a peaceful life, and Jesus, I suppose, he spent a lot of time with lepers too. In Matthew 25. That whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And so it sounds like that kind of service that has deep roots in your Christian community in India. And I saw one of the other posts that you shared with a couple of ladies that were being persecuted by really, I suppose, a mob to some extent. Can you talk us through some of these other things that are occurring in your community?
Regarding that attack on the ladies, it happened in the same state of Orissa, and Orissa has been in the news for violence against the Christians. There was a communal riot in a place called Kandamal, where many churches were burned after some religious leaders were killed by some miscreants. So they blamed the Christians, and they burned village after villages. Around 800 people were killed in the Kandamal massacre. So, and of course, another clip I shared where one lady had, accepted Christ, and she was orchestrated from the village, and she was denied drinking water. So when she was collecting water from a pit, they poisoned the pit. So some Christian friends or church leaders, they came from other places. These things they quite carry on. It keeps happening.
And it's been going on. And what you mentioned, I suppose, around Modi is since he has gotten into power, it's actually gotten worse. Is that correct?
Modi is a very clever politician. So they will not directly say anything. So they will instigate, the political leaders, they will instigate the general public. See, the people in India, most of the people, they lack basic education. So literacy means only able to sign, your name or write your name. But the basic education, the coexistence, the tolerance level, it is lacking in many parts of the country. So, Narendra Modi, he does some, what you say, he used to go to church during Christmas. So these are just, a politician, every politician they do. So, but if really he wants to stop, then they should pass strong laws to protect the minorities. So, like the Hindu community in the USA, they have passed a law in the state of Georgia, if I'm not wrong. So, it is a anti-Hindu phobic law. So similarly, if the Hindus can pass laws in a Christian country like USA to protect Hindu interest, so similarly, India also can do the same for the minorities, which they will not do, of course. And because you see, politics in India is based on polarization. There is a language-based politics. There is a geographical-based politics. There is a ethnic-based politics. There is a religion-based politics. So it's very easy, to use religion as a tool, weaponize the religion, and win elections after elections. So that is, yes, of course, after Narendra Modi has been in power, though he has officially tried, or he shows that he tries, but these things have not stopped.
He could do a lot
And
more.
yes, of course, many ministers in his cabinet, they encourage hate speech. They have hate mongered. So initially they started against the Muslims, and then slowly now they have focused on the Christians. Then after that, they will focus on smaller minorities, maybe ethnic, maybe linguistic, whatever.
And so in your experience, so you've had a number of different roles. So one of your roles was representing the minorities that you'd mentioned earlier. Can you tell us about that role, when that was occurring, and does that role still exist, or it's just not really functioning like it should?
Yeah, I was appointed as it's a kind of ombudsman. They had it was the previous government, the previous party, the Indian National Congress. So during that Congress period, I was appointed, but it was for a very brief time. And again, when the BJP came to power, they continued with me in a different post, but in the same ministry. But on the ground, nothing happened. So government has reduced, the funding also for the minority ministry. So, like lot of things like they other governments, they used to give money for the education, especially among the Muslims, scholarships among Muslims and Christians. So those things they have come down, and it's very difficult for minorities to get proper jobs, or discrimination. The social stigma is very much prevalent.
And as the ombudsman, so you were trying to sort out disputes, I take it, between different.
No, I was monitoring the funds. In fact, there was a lot of corruption, and on the ground, money was not reaching to the people. So I had taken some action, and of course, there is some federal cases going on against the officials that I had initiated.
Okay.
But on the ground, nothing much has happened.
Okay, so the ombudsman, it was more. There was a
But it
certain
was
amount.
long time.
So there was a certain amount of funding that was given to be distributed as required, and you, as the ombudsman, were trying to make sure that people were being accountable with the money that was being
Yes,
spent, and that was from the
yes,
previous
yes,
government. And
yes,
there's still cases
yes,
going on today, based on the work that you did back then.
yes.
Okay.
It's correct.
And so today, for Modi and the things that are going on in the government, what sort of is he doing anything to try and ensure that the discrimination isn't occurring, that the hate isn't occurring against some of the minorities in his country?
You see, India is a so-called democracy, and if you are truly a democratic government, you will give representation to each community. So if you see the Narendra Modi government as of date, there is not even a single Christian or a Muslim minister. In all the high offices, you will not find a prominent Christian face or a Muslim face. I don't know whether even there is a minority commission. It is just like a toothless tiger. So there has to be specific laws which will act on hate speeches, hate mongering, and you have to implement the laws. The police has to be sensitized that if there is a hate case or something like that, so you have to take action. But the biggest problem here, the government has introduced anti-conversion law. That means in many states, like we have two governments here. There is the federal government and there is a state government. So many state governments have anti-conversion law. For example, if I want to become a Christian, I have to write to the deputy commissioner. I have to apply to the deputy commissioner that I want to become a Christian without any pressure from anybody or any lucrative offer. So the district collector, he's the bureaucrat in the district. He will decide whether I can become a Christian or not. If I don't take the permission of the government and become a Christian, then they will put me in jail. If a pastor comes to my house to pray, he might be put in jail. There are many instances. In the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is the largest state in terms of population, many pastors have been jailed. And even Mother Teresa missionaries of charity, nuns were jailed on false cases of human trafficking, of selling children. So, but the court has found nothing against them. So these things are going on, and government now is introducing the Foreign Currency Contribution Act, FCRA. So before, many charitable like organizations who were running hospitals or who were running schools, free schools or whatever. So those fundings are going to be hit. Like already your Adam Gilchrist was a representative, brand ambassador of one NGO. I'm not getting the name. World Vision.
Okay, yes,
World,
yes.
World Vision. I think yeah. So it was now they have they have cancelled the FCRA. Now World Vision is out of work in India. So now foreign pastors cannot come and give sermon in the churches. They are denied visas. Those things are there. But ironically, if a country has to progress overall, then you have to give representation to every community. Only majority representation is going to hurt the democracy after a certain amount of time.
I suppose I don't understand how, as a Christian country, we can have such a close working relationship with the Indian government when these types of things that are against our beliefs and as a country, that really it's a human rights type issue that should not be occurring, and we're to some extent we're not putting any pressure, like as a country, that Mr. Modi. We're a Christian majority country. You're a Hindu majority country. You should be looking after the minority Christians. We're looking after the minority Hindus in our country. That's only fair. Like you think that would be a reasonable thing for our governments to advocate on behalf of the minorities in your country?
India's allies, if you see in the terms of government, of late, the United States of America is having a good relation with India, Australia also, UK also, France, and many European countries. So at one point of time, there is going to be a lot of trade deals, etc., etc. But if you don't like Christians, if you don't like Christianity, then my logic is that you should not take the help of any Christian country. If you don't like Muslim countries, you should not take the oil of a Muslim country. It's very simple. Nobody can live in isolation. Everybody has to coexist because India is a very huge country. There are so many, around 800 languages are there. It's a very vast country. So many ethnicity are there. So if you do not treat the citizen of your country, then how can you go and protect the interest of your citizens in another country? But having said that, the amount of hatred that is generated in the current scenario, so these people when they go out, it is going to be a matter of conflict. It is just a matter of time. Because a person who is filled with hatred, he cannot destroy his hatred once he goes to a foreign land. It will be inculcated inside his system. He's indoctrinated. That's how problems will arise.
And I suppose with those problems and those different cultures, so one of the big things between the Hindu culture and the Christian culture is this idea of a caste system that is quite prevalent in India. Can you explain to the listeners how the caste system works and what the implications of it?
See, the caste system here is very complicated. There are four kind of caste. There is a priestly caste. It is known as the Brahmins. A Brahmin only can become a priest. And apart from that, there is the Kshatriya caste or the warrior class, just like the samurais of Japan. So these people are meant for war. They will not do any other things. There is a business class, the Vaishyas. They are the merchant class. So they will do the tradings and all these things. And there is a Sudra. Sudra means they are the service provider. So barbers, washermen, all these things. Apart from that, there is an underclass, the untouchables, or we say Dalits. So now, many people they give narrative that the caste system was brought by the Portuguese or the British. It is not like that. So, time and again, there has been a reformation in Hinduism. Like the Sikhs has come out from Hinduism. They fought against the caste system. There was Buddhism also. So, caste system is very much alive in the Indian society. If a Hindu goes to USA or Australia, the caste will go with him. The caste is not going to stay back in India, and he will continue to practice his caste. So the Brahmins, as per their belief, they have come out of the head of the god, and the Kshatriyas, the warrior class, they have come out from the biceps or the arms of the god. The merchants have come out from the stomach of the god, there's a person called Manu, the first man, and the Sudras, the Dalits, they have come out from the feet. So already in India, the founders of the modern republic, Sahib Ambedkar, he was an untouchable from the Mahar caste. He went to the USA, he went to UK, and he pursued higher studies, and he brought lots of reformation, equal rights for women, etc., etc. But he himself was discriminated. If you see his story, if you see his movie, so a Dalit, he cannot touch the community water. If he touches, he will be beaten. A Dalit cannot keep mustache. Like in marriages, there is a custom to go on a horse to the bridegroom's place. A Dalit cannot ride a horse. There are daily instances of caste violence. There are laws, of course, there are laws to protect Dalits, but it is deeply rooted in the Indian society. So they think that the upper caste think that Dalits are born to serve. It is their duty to serve, and it is their privilege to serve the upper caste. So a Dalit can take up any job, but he cannot take up the job of a priest. So, of course, now because of modernization, everybody is doing whatever they get, but you cannot become a temple of a priest. If I want to become a Hindu, I cannot become a Brahmin. I have to take a low caste. So that is how it works.
And that caste is from your family lineage, like it's kind of what you're born into. You're born into this lower caste layer of society.
Yes.
In Australia, I suppose the question is it really getting here? And I read recently Dr. Assange Wankhed's 2024 research with 146 Indian Australians and found that the caste discrimination is persistent and systemic in Australia. In workplaces, in obviously in the temples, as you mentioned, marriages and community organisations. Have you seen or heard this? Is this something that they're hearing in India, that this is happening in all the Western countries as well?
Yes, caste system is a menace in all the USA. Already, United States, the Dalits are suffering discrimination in their workplace if there are other Indians in the IT sector, whatever. So, so that is how the Indian politics it works. So, if the constituency is majority low caste, and suddenly a Brahmin goes, then they are bound to vote for the Brahmin. So something like that. It works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But caste plays a very important role.
Would they nearly try to bring Dalits with them to Western countries to help to serve them? Is that something that you think would be happening? Like, so Brahmins would come to a Western country, then they would bring their Dalits or their lower caste people to help serve them. Is that what you're talking about there?
It might happen. It might not happen. It depends upon what kind of visa these people are able to access, or what kind of jobs they get. But that is but that is most probably that is a probability. So, say for example, if you make a temple in Australia, you cannot you cannot give an advertisement for a priest. We require a priest, and the Dalit becomes the priest. It does not work like that. So, of course, I don't think they will bring Dalits because it's a privilege to work in a Western country or a European country or a rich country. So they want the Dalits to be poor and deprived from the education.
So for like say the Uber drivers or the people that are running the taxis, I've heard stories of like there's been some scams that they've been talking about actually, I think in Perth, where they'll get a bunch of Indian students that aren't really there to study, but that are actually working as taxi drivers. They'll be doing things that aren't right to with the fines, and then they'll be basically housing them all in accommodation, squeezing them in an accommodation as like a group of, say, I don't know, 10, 20 in the one house kind of thing, to help to make money, but then also to send money back. But I'm assuming that wouldn't be the upper class within the caste system that would be doing those jobs. It would be the lower levels.
That might be a possibility, but you see, in India, they will aggressively practice the caste system. But once you go to a foreign country, that might not be the case because there they will be having a collective identity. We are Indians, we are brothers. But once you go to the village, once you go back to your own country, if I'm a Dalit, my friends will not invite me to eat food in the house. If I am a Dalit, no upper caste friends will come and eat in my house. So in foreign countries, it might be different. Out of compulsion, even a Brahmin will do a janitor's job out of compulsion because nobody is going to see. And but here in India, there is no such compulsion. So yes, there are people who are doing jobs which is not like their caste are doing. Like some soldiers, somebody is a soldier, but he might be a Brahmin or he might be a Dalit. But in that way, the caste system does not work in government service or private sector. But it is a social structure, so nobody can change that. So that is where the problem lies. It is deep rooted in the society and the social fabric.
Okay, and I suppose the Dalits they often convert like the lower level castes to Christianity or Islam, I suppose, in some way to escape the caste system. Is that the real story, like with how it
Yes.
works?
Yes, there are many types of conversion. Some people, they might feel the power of God, power of Jesus, and they might accept Jesus. They are converting. Some want to escape the social stigma, the social the pressure that is on them, and so these are there. But I'll tell you, if you see the Hindu ritual, like for marriage, there is a separate ritual. For birth, there is a separate ritual. For death, there is a separate ritual. For housewarming, there is a separate ritual. So every ritual, you have to pay the Brahmins. And there are many things like you have to, give alms to the temple. So poor people, they cannot afford. So many people they convert or they become Christians. And of course, if you see the history of Christianity in India, wherever the missionaries, maybe Catholics, maybe Protestants, they've opened up schools. So once you set up schools, and once you set up colleges, then you're opening the mind. Then they are not listening to anybody. They are just listening to their heart, and they want to do what they want to do.
And so, just to get married, you're telling me you've got to then pay the higher castes for the lower caste to get married.
Yeah, yeah, that is the basically the yeah, yes, the priest. You have to pay the priest.
Okay.
So and yeah, because the priest is going to conduct the
Oh,
ceremony.
the ceremony. Okay. Yes,
So
understand.
yeah, so in every ritual you have to call the Brahmins, the priest. So many people they cannot afford. So those kind of things are there. Many Dalits till date they are not able to get proper education because the teachers who are upper caste they discriminate. So like people who are in the leather industry, they are called chamars. So if the children of the leather industry they go to school to study, they are discriminated because they skin the dead animals. People who are in the cleaning business, like the janitors, we call them sweepers, or they clean the septic tank or toilets, public toilets. So they are considered till date as untouchables, though there are laws to protect them. So these people are discriminated, and if they think that Christianity gives them some, deliverance or some social, equality, then they definitely dignity is involved. Then they definitely they come to Christianity.
And I suppose, like for Australia being a Christian nation built on a Christian foundation, all of our laws are kind of based around that originally. In any case, but I suppose the Bible is very clear against this type of caste system. So I can think of James chapter 2. It says like we must not show favoritism and ask, has not God chosen those who are poor in the eyes of the world to be rich in faith? And so that this caste system, it clashes. Like this clashes between Christianity and Hinduism, and so I can imagine that this clash of cultures is eventually going to happen in Australia as the Hindu minority gets larger and larger within Australia. They would be pushing for really, this is how our culture, our religions work. So we would actually like to impose our requirements onto your society now instead of the other way. And like this type of not treating people fairly or evenly, that just doesn't really work.
The Western value system. Uh, uh, there might be many narratives. There might be many historical chapters or pinpoints. Many people can debate, but I'll tell you, if there is no compassion in the society, which you'll find it rare in the Indian society, there is no compassion. Because if there is no compassion in the society, if you only want to achieve everything, and if you want to grab everything for yourself, there is no sense of community building. Then it is going to be, it is bound to have clashes with any country, maybe Australia, wherever they go, because you see the sense of community is not there in India. It is only about a caste. You see, so if the sense of community was there, then India would have been a very clean place. Everybody would have cleaned the trash. You see, so the people are not cleaning the trash is because there is no sense of community. So they think that it is not our business. It is the cleaning is the work of the lower caste. So here we will not clean anything.
I suppose that's why the rubbish is such a big issue and pollution is such a big issue in India, is because the higher castes, they're not going to clean anything, and so they're expecting others to do. And I suppose that's something that as a society we're having to struggle with as well, because there'll be like a festival or something like that, and then there'll end up being there's been instances where rubbish has been just left everywhere, and I suppose that's the mindset of like if you're an upper class within the caste system, you're not going to be cleaning anything, and so it's just that's just not part of your culture and like how things work for you.
You see, unlike the Japanese or the Chinese, they have very much their nationalism lies in their community service. So even if there is some stress, even the European countries, the US, the Australia. So here, as I said again, so once a person like eats something or have a packet, he will just throw because this system is not being taught. Civic sense is not being taught or taught properly from the schools. So it is very casual attitude. They have seen their parents, they have seen their teachers. They'll just throw trash. Now what has happened? Once you go to a foreign country, that habit is still there. So so once you go to, say, for example, Australia, you will be having a tendency to throw, to spit, or to have some kind of that chewing, that gutka and all these things. They will litter. So if then somebody will protest, then there will be the clash. So it is a mindset that has evolved and that has been going on for thousands of years. That cleaning trash is not my job. It is you cannot become a barber. See, you might learn some beauty course, but you cannot become a barber. Barber is a low caste. You cannot become a washerman. It's a low caste. So those things are there. So eventually there will be a clash of culture regarding cleanliness, civic sense, and like if I have some in India it's very common. So they will play loud music. Then they do not care for the neighbors. You go to the Indian Railway. You try someday the Indian Railway. You'll understand. So everybody is throwing trash. There is no sense of community. So this is the main. This is the outcome of the caste system. It's 100%.
And okay, and then I suppose in that same vein, one of the big things around I believe the Hindu religion is around cows and like worshipping cows, at least in parts of India, or it's at least a holy animal. Can you tell us about the other pollution associated with like the river and the Hindu religion and how that's affected the water quality, how it the people downstream, I suppose. I imagine people have got to get their water from somewhere to drink, and it makes it a bit difficult if the river itself is polluted.
So every religion has evolved at some point of time. Hinduism also needs to evolve. Like there are many festivals where they immerse the idols or the ritual stuff. So in Hinduism, they believe that if we immerse them in the river, they will get some kind of blessing, or this is the culture, or this is the system that has gone for thousands of years. But because of climate change, because of the pollution in the water or water source, they have to think of other alternate ways. Like just cannot go to some country and then immerse an idol after that ritual ceremony, or you put some milk in the river, you put some milk fat in the river. That is not happening in Australia at least. So in India, if you see the rivers are dirty, it is because of the customs. So, if every Hindu also knows, so if you want to keep your river clean, then you have to create something, because religion is for the people. If people is not there, who will follow the religion? So if you poison the water, if people will die, then who is going to survive to practice your religion? So they have to do something about it. They have to find alternate ways to dispose idols.
I heard you around milk. So in Australia, we'd normally drink milk. We'd create cheese. We'd create yogurt. You're saying they're just putting the milk in the river. That's that does doesn't really work with our mindset. Like that's your nutrients. So that's things that we use to for sustenance. Well, what are they eating, or what's the go with that?
But nowadays, the trend has come. You can see those videos in YouTube. So they are pouring milk in the river. What happens is that the oxygen level goes down, and a lot of fungal it takes place, and then because of the oxygen level going down, the fish they'll die eventually. And a lot of microorganism, that is invasive species, they can as per the scientist. So there are many rituals. So if somebody will go and tell them to stop, then automatically the person becomes the enemy of the Hindu religion. So it's very difficult. As a Christian, I cannot go and tell them. Even a Hindu also cannot go and tell. So there has to be evolution or some kind of reformation or alternate systems has to be there. So after they worship Ganesh Puja. So there is the elephant god. So they have to submerge the idol. So in Australia or Canada or US, they are submerging. So once you submerge the entire ecosystem, it gets polluted. So again, they are also drinking the same water from the same source. So it has to, wherever you go, you have to follow the culture, and you cannot just, just because your prime minister has said that we are, the most advanced race, so you will take it literally, and things do not work out like that.
And just in terms of the history on India, I hadn't realised this, but back in the day there was nearly Greater India. Like you had Pakistan and Bangladesh and India were all one nation to some extent. Can you just talk through how that happened and then what changed within India?
You see, India at one point of time, it was almost a Buddhist country, Buddhist nation. So it went back till Central Asia, and then till to Vietnam, Thailand. So then again the evolution of Hinduism, it again started. So gradually it increased. So there are flaws. I'm not saying that there are no flaws in all the religions, but there are flaws in Hinduism because of the caste system. What happens was that any kingdom, only the warrior class was supposed to fight. The Dalits or the merchant class, if they took a sword, they will be punished or they will be killed, death sentence. So with the advent of Islam, so current Pakistan was part of India, so was Bangladesh, and parts of Afghanistan also was a part of India only. So historically or culturally, you will find those were Buddhist places, Buddhist countries, and even Hindu. Still, there are many Hindu temples in Pakistan. So during wars, what used to happen? The Kshatriyas, if they lose the battle, then the game was over. The public did not resist because it was the system they used to follow. And for the Dalits or the lower caste, it did not affect them. It did not matter because anybody who is ruling will be a tyrant. So, with the advent of Islam, a lot of kingdoms were, overrun by the Arabs or the Turks, and they became like pockets of Islam in Western India or Pakistan. Similarly, Arab traders they went to, present-day Bangladesh, and with the advent of Islam, mostly Dalits they became Muslims. So, when the country was partitioned, there was a lawyer called Redcliffe. So he had no idea about India, and he was brought hurriedly to India, and he made a line. It is called a Redcliffe line, India-Pakistan border. So what happened was that the majority of the Muslim countries were given to Pakistan or East Pakistan, currently Bangladesh, and the majority Hindus were given to India. Of course, there was also a option of directly under the British as a Commonwealth nation. But when India became a republic, all were amalgamated. So, because of the caste system, because of the thousands years of Islamic rule, Hindus did not want to become a part of the Muslim country or similarly. So, partition was one of the greatest tragedies. And then what happened was that India was divided. So, as you see, the state of Punjab was the maximum hit. So what the Punjabis, the Sardars, the Sikhs that you see in Australia or US, they may not be all from India. They might be from Pakistan or Afghanistan or even Iraq also. So because Sikhism was predominant there. Most of the Sikhs in Canada are from Afghanistan. Yes, of course, from India also, Pakistan also. Even Australia also, the truck drivers, the truckers, mostly are from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Western India. So, of course, that is a different story of their why they have gone out of India, and the Khalistan movement. All those things are there.
I suppose the crazy thing to me about the split, if you look historically, countries have split. Sudan, for example, it ended up splitting. There was originally North and South Sudan was one country, and the split ended up occurring as demographics changed and different religion, Islam ended up coming into the north, and then it split the entire country. And I suppose even in India, Greater India, before the partition happened. That's exactly what ended up happening. There became a split along civilizational lines between Hinduism and Islam. And that then created, and it was because the people themselves, as they decided, well, we would actually like to live under a Islamic civilization and Islamic law. And the Hindus would like to live under a Hindu majority country. And obviously the Christians would like to do that as well, but they just don't have the numbers to be able to do that, to actually live under a Christian country within India. And I suppose that's one thing that I'm trying to get across to our listeners is that demographics shape destiny, and as populations change and civilizational powers move into your country, a previously Christian country could become a split country. You could have a cleaving of the country occurring, and you could end up with if a large enough population is concentrated in an area, eventually they'll go, well, why are we living under a Christian nation? We would like to live under an Islamic nation, or we would like to live under Hindu law. We really like our caste system. We want to ensure that's happening in Australia, and so you could definitely see as populations change that could occur, and that's exactly what seems to have happened in India, which I hadn't really realized that was actually such a big part of your history.
Yeah, this is a possibility. Let me add some more points to this point, to this issue. When the East Pakistan, that means current Bangladesh, East Pakistan became Bangladesh, the fight was between the language. So the Pakistanis wanted the Urdu to be the official language, and the Bengalis wanted Bengalis. So from that language, it became a full-blown war. So what you are saying is definitely with demographics, people will definitely try to split, try to demand a new country. May not be in 10 years down the lane, but of course, it will be maybe 100 years from now on. But again, if you see the history of India, there was no such country as India. They were small kingdoms. Culturally, yes, you can say. Religion point of view, you can say, but there were instances where Mughal generals like Akbar, they had Hindu commanders, and Hindu kings had Muslim commanders. So that fabric was there even before the British came. Still now, Hindus and Muslims, they want to live in peace. So does everybody. But of course, certain political people, political class or ideology, they do not want to do that. So it's a kind of supremacy, or kind of ultra nationalist. They don't want the Muslims. I'll tell you, if the Muslims of India are cornered, persecuted, then there is going to be destabilization of entire Southeast Asia, and even it will come to the Pacific region, because you see radicalization, you cannot contain it, uh, and you cannot, there is no remedy for that until unless there has to be, there are dialogues. So recently the massacre that happened in Australia, there was a the person was from he was an Indian origin person. So because of extreme Hindu nationalism, there is going to be a rise of Islamic, you can say terrorism or Islamic fight back.
Or fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism.
Yes. And it is going to destabilize the entire region.
And then I suppose Christianity is the question, and a lot of people would think Christianity was introduced into India from the British when the British came, but I've heard recently that that's not actually the case. Can you explain where did the early Christians come from, and did it actually? From a timeline point of view, Islam, I believe, was maybe the 6th or 7th century AD, maybe, but Christianity, I think, was before that, which was new to me. So, can you please explain that a little bit for us?
Yeah. After Jesus rose, and he was taken to heaven, his disciples went to all the corners of the world. So Saint Thomas, as we know him as Doubting Thomas, he came to India and he started preaching. And the local king in southern India, he helped him, gave him land and all. Ultimately, he was killed by some miscreant on the behest of the king, some other king. And there is a shrine, Catholic shrine, in the city of Chennai. So it is there. And later on, Portuguese also came. The Danes, they came. So a lot of European countries, they came. But when the British came, British were not interested in propagating Christianity, since it was the Anglican Church. So churches were limited to British soldiers or the British officers or the administrators who were there, and their officials or Indian officials. But actual Christianity was propagated by American and Australian missionaries. Of course, Catholics came much later. So in my state of Assam, Australian missionaries have worked. American missionaries have worked. They have made printing presses. They translated the Bible into local languages. They started hospitals. There's a lot of mission hospitals were started. And a lot of American nurses, Australian nurses, they had come and served. American doctors, they have come and served the people. And it was only the Americans in this part of the world. Of course, that is why you see in Assam or in Northeast where I stay, all the 7 states are Christian majority. Assam, my state, is not Christian majority. It is around 5%, but rest of the state around 70%, 80%, 90%, because the American missionaries have worked there. So there is a very misconception that the British brought Christianity. It is not correct. British were not interested in propagating Christianity. It was saved from Saint Thomas, and of course, time and again, many preachers had come. They have preached the gospel, and of course, in future also, we hope that the good news continues to spread.
But the government itself is making it very hard with these laws that prevent people from even easily converting. Like you have to go get permission from the government to allow you to convert to Christianity or Islam. Like it's crazy from like a religious freedom point of view. That should nearly be a human right. That again, crazy to me that our government would be so supportive of India when there's these blatant things that are going against human rights on the ground there.
Yeah. So there are many missions apart from Catholics. There are many missions who are running Christian schools, who have given selfless service to the society. So there are powers, they do not want people to convert to Christianity, and there are powers who do not want people to convert to Islam. But at the same time, there are powers who will not treat their people of their own religion equally. They will discriminate the people of the lower caste. So they think that the world is only for a particular class of people. So in this world where the world is shrinking because of digital and social media, nowadays these things cannot be hidden. And Christians are very peace loving. We have nothing against anybody. So basically, most of the Christians are very poor people. By their merit, they study hard. They take up government jobs. They are most of the Christians. You will find them as teachers, nurses, in government service. So crimes in among the Christians are very low. You will not find crimes among the Christians. Uh, People who have converted to Christianity, they themselves have said that we have stopped alcohol, we have stopped drugs, we have stopped all the evils that we were doing. So I think it is like a bunch of flower. If you have a bouquet will look beautiful only when there are so many types of flowers. So Christianity, the Christians are not diminishing the Indian culture, but rather they are making the Indian culture more vibrant, and they have contributed over and again, right in the army or in the defense forces, in the civil services, even in the freedom fighters. Christians have contributed. I don't know what is the logic behind anti-Christian hatred, but of course, many people their family runs, then their politics runs on the hatred. So without hatred, then they'll have nothing to do.
Yeah, and that's definitely not what the Bible preaches. So, yeah, thinking about how how Christianity has grown. Like I was looking at the numbers. You'd mentioned it's between 2 and 3% for Christianity in India, and you're
Yes,
like, well, that's tiny. That's a tiny
yes,
percentage, but it's still something in the order because it's 1.4 billion people. We're still
yes,
talking like 20 to 30 million
yes,
Christians in India, which
yes,
is the entire population of Australia.
yes.
So it just puts it in perspective that the numbers. Yes, it's a small percentage, but there is still a lot of Christians in India, and we should be ensuring that they are. We should be doing our part to ensure that they aren't being persecuted. We are in a free country, and there is a relationship between our two countries. The least we could do is demand our leaders to ensure that the Indian leadership is looking after the minorities in your country, and that should, I would, human rights, religious freedoms, ensuring people are treated evenly, things around pollution. We should be trying to encourage those types of, Western values in India as a requirement for doing business, you would think.
The current political party, though even in the Bharatiya Janata Party's constitution, they have the secularism point. So the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, is by and large a secular party. It is in their constitution, and you can check their constitution in the website. They have written it as a positive secularism. So it means treating everybody as equal. Of course, when the BJP, there was a prime minister called Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He was Modi's mentor, Narendra Modi's mentor. He was a great leader, great human being, and he himself propagated, equality and brotherhood among all communities. But when crony capitalism and when cheap politics they enter into the system, then because a country like India won't be able to survive if they create hatred and marginalize minorities. Then what happens is that there is a lot of people are disgruntled, and the Hindus should realize that being the majority 80%, if the country is not running smoothly, they will be the ones who will be affected most, not the Christians, not the Muslims. The Muslims are doing fine. Okay, they are having discrimination, but they can, because since they do not have caste system, any Muslim can do anything. Same with the Christians. But Hindus, they have to think that because if the country's economy is not doing well, now government is not able to create jobs for the Indians here. So through trade deals, they are sending Indians all across the world. So that is not a solution. If you love your country, you have to generate jobs here. You cannot. We are not cattle.
Yeah, build your own country. We should be building each of our own countries. Yeah. You mentioned so RSS, and it's run by the Brahmins predominantly, and I believe also historically was it linked to Gandhi's assassination as well. Can you walk us through that historically, how that's happened and what the implications are on the political system now?
Well, the RSS or we say the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh was uh, was inspired by Mussolini to a great extent, and they had sent people to Italy to study, and it's a basically paramilitary organization. The RSS has 40 wings, right from farmer wing to to students wing to trade union bodies, and BJP is the, you can say, the political wing. Of course, RSS does not directly says that you have to do this or do that, but people always associate with the RSS. They eventually end up doing that. So the basic idea of RSS is cultural nationalism. So for them, everybody is a Hindu, so they are trying to ironically erase the caste system. They want to erase the caste system. They have been training Dalits to become priests, which has not gone down well with the Hindus. But again, having said that, regarding the assassination of Gandhi, yes, they were implicated, but they were a let of because of the lack of evidence. So there was one ideologue, Mr. V.D. Savarkar. He was implicated, and also Mr. Golwarkar was there, the supreme leader, or we say Sar Sangachalam. So because of lack of, it was also banned many times. I think at least two times the RSS was banned in India. After Gandhi's assassination, it was banned as an unlawful organization, and I think another time during emergency during the 70s, it was banned. So RSS has many branches. So even in Australia or the USA, they will be having their branches, and they will open up with students or farmers or corporates. In each field, they will have their own specialized people. So even RSS is a Christian wing, and RSS is a Muslim wing also. But Christian wing, I think it is defunct. Nobody is there. Nobody has, because nobody wants to associate with RSS. But they might be doing good works, but they are against conversion, and it is under their pressure that this anti-conversion law or whatever is there. Yes, of course, all the supreme leaders of the RSS, bearing one, or are all Brahmins. That might be a coincidence. That might not be a coincidence. But basically, caste system is very prevalent in the RSS also, because yes, they work among Dalits, they work among tribals, but I have never seen any Dalit commander, supreme leader in RSS. And also, of course, there are issues pertaining to a lot of politics. They always deny, but they are working among the Hindus specifically. But yes, they have met recently. Their leaders have met U.S. Leaders in United States. They might be very active in Australia also. But of course, they are doing good work, but they have done nothing to stop the hate.
So they're a very powerful. I'm hearing they're a very powerful organisation that's kind of in the background that's helping to prop up the system that's in place, but then also has branches internationally across the world that tries to corral groups of people to seems like to create influence within the international community. There's been discussions about the the implications of that globally, but we won't go there. So the RSS itself, so there were links to Gandhi's assassination. There was also, I believe, links to Graham's assassination to some extent in his family.
Ram Singh said.
Yeah, so this has been like there seems to be a lot of Christian persecution, and I'm assuming Islamic persecution in India linked to this organisation to some extent. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, Gramsteins, I don't know about RSS, but the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Vishwa Hindu Parishad is a different organization. Of course,
Okay.
the RSS, they send their pracharaks. Pracharaks are basically full-time workers. They do not marry. They're just like the Catholic fathers. So they go on deputation to Vishwa Hindu Parishad or to BJP. Like the BJP, the General Secretary organization post is the RSS people, they send their own people. So, of course, I never heard RSS condoning the killing of Graham Staines, but
Okay.
the main culprit, Dara Singh, Dara Singh was office bearer of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Vishwa Hindu Parishad youth wing is the Bajrang Dal who keeps on vandalizing churches, keeps on beating missionaries. Vishwa Hindu Parishad youth wing, the Bajrang Dal. But these are a lot of hypocrisy is there. You see, recently there is a big incident of theft in the Ram Mandir. The Ram temple was built after demolishing a mosque, Babri Masjid. If you see the Ram movement, Ram temple movement, so many of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad leaders, they have been implicated in theft uh, up to hundreds of crores. So there are. I don't. I'm not going to say that it's a hypocritical organization, but yes, there are many leaders who have who are hypocrites. I can say that on record, and who have done nothing to condone violence or to stop the hatred. So in today's world, if you are not able to coexist with each other, you will have bottlenecks in international diplomacy or in having acquiring peace, especially with your neighbors.
And I suppose that's a key thing. And having a majority and then minorities, ensuring that we're all looking after each other, ensuring that we're doing right for the betterment of the country, for the betterment of your neighbour. That makes a society really work well. So yeah, interesting to hear that. For the implications. So Modi himself, there's obviously a power structure that's going on behind him. I believe he's the face man for the apparatus. Say he's the nice smiling gentleman that comes and shakes everyone's hand, gets all chummy with our politicians and gets really good deals. Like he's a good businessman. I heard Trump was supposed to be the art of the deal, but Modi comes for 3 days. He walks away with $500 million and uranium, which I find quite amazing that he was able to achieve that. And extremely lax immigration laws that seem to be very one-sided across a lot of the Western countries. So the power structure that's going on behind that. What are your thoughts on that? How is he being created, or is there crony capitalism? Is there money behind it? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is a known fact. Narendra Modi is just the face. There are big corporates like the Adani Group, the Ambani Group. Not to take away his oratory skills, he's a good orator. That is why the masses are attracted towards him. But again, having said that, Narendra Modi is 75. Uh, in the BJP bylaw, 75 they retire. So I don't know what will happen to him in the coming days. But Narendra Modi is just the face. You must understand the British had made a very good administrative system. So all the bureaucrats that you have in India, foreign service or domestic service, the legacy is directly from the British. So once anybody is in power, even an illiterate person is in power, the bureaucrats are there to guide him. And of course, the RSS, which has 40 wings, right from farmers' organization to trade unions or to foreign affairs, and with the diaspora, Modi is being guided what to do and what not to do and what to say, what not to say. Regarding uranium, it is an old issue that has been pursued by earlier governments also. Since government is a continuing process, it is just he happened to be here. I don't think Narendra Modi deserves credit because India had sent a mission to moon, and there is also it was earlier done by the other governments. So Narendra Modi, of course, is a good orator, and he is attracting the lower class people, the jobless, the person who is into the lower strata of the society. So he is selling dreams, so we making India a Vishwaguru. Vishwaguru means the master of the world or whatever, as per the language. So Modi is just a face. It is a well-oiled machinery.
You mentioned that he's looking to likely written into the constitution that he's probably going to be forced to retire soon. Is there someone in the wings that's going to be taking up the fight for India? Is that already ordained to some extent, or not yet?
There are two issues. Like BJP has a national council, and what I understand, Narendra Modi is from the state of Gujarat. Narendra Modi and his second in command, they are from Gujarat. So currently, the people of India are very much, disappointed, and they are very unhappy with lot of issue like inflation and price rise. So if the BJP senses that next election they are not winning, they will change Modi for sure. That is how they operate, and they have many people. The defense minister might be in the fray. Everybody has their own merits and demerits, but I think BJP this time will give somebody with a secular with some secular credentials, because ultimately in any country it is the people who select the leaders. If it's a Christian majority country, the Christians will select a Christian leader, and the Christian leader will make policies that will also look into the interest of the Christians. So similarly, if they understand that, they might they might consider someone with more secular credential. Not that I'm saying that Modi is not having secular credentials, but he just makes lame talks. It is not sufficient, because as a prime minister of such a powerful country, if he want, he can do a lot of things. So I think he has missed a lot of points. And regarding your trade deal or negotiator, as I told you, there are many factors, there are many people behind it. So Narendra Modi is just the face. So like if I become the prime minister, I cannot do everything by myself. There will be a team. Of course, there is a team, and that team advises. But you will not find any Muslim or Christians in the current cabinet or in the party also. I don't think there is anybody in the party.
Adani's got a lot of influence here in Australia. A lot of coal that's currently being sent to
Yes.
India. Meanwhile, our government is trying to stop burning coal here. Yet we're happy to take the money from India and then send the coal to India to be burnt. We're all the same world, so it just that's a bit crazy to me that we think that that's going to be better for the environment or something. But now I'm hearing uranium. So uranium's been something that it's been a hot topic, and nuclear power in Australia for the last few years is nuclear is it's quite a low pollution. You don't get much pollution from a nuclear power station, and you still get solid power. Like, it's a good baseload source of power. And for our government to basically say, no, you're not allowed to do anything with the uranium here. They've banned a lot of uranium mining in Australia, and it just, for us to then go and be sending our uranium to another nuclear power, which I believe India doesn't have a nuclear proliferation agreement in place. So it just seems to be quite silly for our government to just completely ignore the good that nuclear and uranium could do for our own country, and yet we're happy for us to give it to Adani and then for it to get sent to India to help build your country. So we're not willing for it to build our country, but we're happy to send it to your country. It just seems to be quite a crazy thing, and I'm assuming that that's going to increase the power of Adani in India with the additional wealth that's going to bring into the country.
Yeah, I have seen protest in Australia regarding the coal mining, but somehow it seems Mr. Adani has been able to manage the protest. Even of late, the U.S. Justice Department has, released his case, and a lot of things are going on. But regarding uranium, India already is a nuclear power, and of course, being a huge country, there are energy requirements for the country. But again, I feel that Australia should have, I think, taken advantage of this deal by, like Adani, Mr. Ambani, another businessman, he has opened a refinery. He's about to open a refinery of around $5 billion in Texas, where Donald Trump's son is a stakeholder. So similarly, Australian government could have, pressurized Mr. Adani to start some kind of, project like a CSR project for the welfare of the Australian people. Maybe power, may not be uranium, maybe solar power, just like the Chinese have been doing. So, of course, Adani is one of the biggest support systems of Narendra Modi, and he will continue to do so. And the government is right behind Mr. Adani. But I think here the people of Australia deserves their fair of share. So, and I think Mr. Adani should invest some amount in Australia from the profit he makes from the uranium so that they have a clean energy. I think solar and wind is a good option. If Mr. Ambani can invest $5 billion, why can't Mr. Adani invest $5 billion in Australia? There is a lot of wind energy, renewable energy is there. I think it should work that way.
Exactly. It just seems to be a very one-way, one-sided relationship with how our government seems to work with India. And hearing that $5 billion being invested from Mr. Adani into Texas, like, why on earth aren't we demanding that as well? I find that quite crazy. And then I suppose with Modi's visit and that the spectacle that was created with showing the strength of the Indian diaspora in Australia. In Australia, we've got nearly 1 million Indians in Australia now. 25 years ago, there was less than 100,000. So the influence of that diaspora is growing. And my understanding that there's only about 4,000 Aussies that are actually living and working in India at this moment. So it's a very one-sided relationship from a point of view of the immigration to the country. And during Modi's visit, we saw just a massive spectacle of like waving the Indian flag and singing the Indian national anthem, and it's something that I've never seen any other leader be allowed to do that in our country. Even Donald Trump. But can you imagine like Xi Jinping or Putin or any of those leaders coming to your country, and then your country hires out a stadium for them to like strengthen their internal identity that is actually, it's a different civilization that could potentially end up working against your country. Like, it just seems to be a bit of a crazy thing, and that influence and how the temples work and the money that's being sent back to India. Are you seeing any? Is there any corruption or anything that you're hearing, or that there's with the money that's being generated in Australia to India, or India back to Australia? Is there anything funny going on there? Like, what do you think the reasoning or the thinking is behind that?
I will answer in 2 points. First of all, you see, Modi is a very good event manager. All his programs, all his political rallies, meetings, he will do it with a lot of pomp and show. He has spent hundreds of millions of rupees in his advertisement. Okay, there is no harm in doing that, but at least for the Indian people, for the local population, there are a lot of issues that needs to be catered. So here, I'm very proud of my country. I'm very proud of my national anthem, but it is showing aggressive nationalism or jingoism in a foreign country, shouting slogans. It shows that lack of sensitiveness. We have to be very sensitive. We have to be very sensitive towards what the host country thinks of us. we always should think that how people will respond, because at the end of the day, I have to work in Australia. So I think that was, I think over the top. I think it was a bit far. It was stretched too far. I think it was not needed, not necessary. Uh, uh, Whether the Australian Prime Minister can sing the national anthem in an Indian stadium with thousands of Australians, that is a separate matter. So that is one thing. Secondly, of course, the diaspora that is in Australia, uh, what kind of visa the Australian government is giving them, that should be looked. And I think the Australian government should make some set of principles mandatory. Like they should screen like screen for people with criminal antecedents, or past what kind of background, or his psychology, whether he'll be behaving in a particular way in Australia, whether he has that sense of responsibility to keep Australia clean. Those kind of things has to be there. Of course, how the system works is that, suppose I am working in Australia. Obviously, the ruling party, the BJP, will make me a member of the foreign foreign division. So time and again, I will give some donations, and that's how the party will work. So I might, and obviously my income is more in Australia than in India. So the party is getting huge funds from the diaspora all over the world. That is how they're investing. They're creating a lot of nationalism. But if you love the country so much in the first place, you should not have left the country and gone to some other country. I think that is the easiest investment that the ruling party is doing, investing in the diaspora and getting lots of fund back for the upcoming elections.
Yeah, the implications of that, it's like you will come to a foreign country, you will become a permanent resident or even a citizen, yet you are still have allegiances back to your home country. So and then you are still trying to you know, support your home country. Is it a competing allegiance to the country that you are now living in? And that just, to me, that, you know, there's potential issues down the track. So I think of in World War II, for Pearl Harbor, when after that occurred, and the Japanese that were in America, they were all of a sudden put in concentration camps. They were rounded up, and they were stripped of their assets, and they were treated completely different, because there was concern that they could actually, those Japanese Americans could then work against America's best interests, and potentially be spies, potentially be undermining the country. So, you know, in Australia, with the amount of people that we're bringing in quite quickly, the concern or the implications are, and that's from any different country, is they do not have undivided loyalty to Australia yet. And that is something that builds over generations. So, you know, the closest example I could give you would be, you know, by 4 generations, if you've had 4 generations in a country, you will only know people in your family that are in the country. Whereas if you've just come from India and you've landed in Australia, you've then gotten your citizenship, you've still got a lot of ties. You've still got a lot of cultural ties, a lot of citizenship ties that could influence you if a war for some reason broke out between our countries, or got divided between East and West. That you would still feel that yearning for your home country. So I see that as like a loyalty potential issue down the track. I see it as something that, you know, if you're bringing in people too quickly and they're not assimilating, they're not becoming Australian, and then you have foreign leaders coming into your country and kind of cultivating that nationalism to a foreign nation. I just see that as a problem long term. It's not like an Australian coming to India, bringing all your family, and then just, I'm 100% for India now. Like it's a very different thing to be cultivating divided loyalties in foreign nations.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. You see, I think you might be a keen cricket lover. So India and Pakistan has been great rivals in cricket. So I have seen many incidents where Muslims they've supported Pakistan and they've got beaten. So it is a hypocrisy level. So if a Muslim cannot support Pakistan cricket team, so obviously, going by the example, so as what you are saying about loyalty, yes, if tomorrow there is a World War Three, and maybe India ties with some country which is enemy of Australia, then loyalties definitely will shift, or it is obviously it's not only with India or Australia, any country, and also. What I am focusing on the scrutiny of what kind of quality of people you are bringing, because a lot of people with criminal antecedents might come. You see, in India has a very high number of rape cases, from child rape to abuse on women. So that teaching, that sensitivity has not been cultivated in the schools. They treat women like an object, or as something in a possession. So the Australian mindset, because I have been able to interact with the Australian team during the Commonwealth Games in 2010 when I was an official of the Indian team. So within a very short introduction, I saw what kind of people the Australians were and the women. So I can guarantee you from my side, an Indian man is not compatible with an Australian woman in most of the cases, because the Indian man is not habituated to a very free or very confident woman as an Australian. So most of the Indians they have grown up in that way. So maybe in urban areas things are different, but women safety is something that still lacks in India. So those kind of cultural clashes will be there, and I'm telling you, Indians are very susceptible to scams, and many countries use Indians as spies. So those things are always there. So I think there should be some kind of scrutiny, so that the diplomatic relations between Australia and India is not damaged because of some people of, because government will come and go. India will and Australia will stay forever. Government today, there is a government. They will have some priority. They will have some rules and regulation. Tomorrow, some other government will come. Then they will change it. So will be the leaders. Today, after Modi goes, some person he might not like Australians in a personal capacity.
And you're right. You're right that uh, people coming to Australia. It's not the immigrants' fault themselves. Like, Australia's a great country. I don't blame anyone for wanting to come to Australia. The people that we need to be holding accountable is our government and the leaders that we're putting in place, which is really ourselves. Collectively, ourselves. We have voted in the government that we have. We are responsible for the leaders that are making these decisions, and especially around the rate of immigration relative to the replacement rate. So in Australia, I'll give you an example. There are 300,000 people that are being born each year, and there are, say, 200,000 that are passing away, or say 220,000 that are passing away. So the replacement rate in Australia is only 80,000, approximately. If you have an immigration rate that is higher than that number over a sustained period of time, you will replace the native population, the population that is there. It is just something that will happen. It'll happen slowly, but it'll happen over time. We're currently bringing in 300 to 400,000 a year. And so we are replacing the Australian population quite quickly. And one of the reasons for that is our birth rate, our replacement rate, isn't high enough. So the ratio is about 1.45 at the moment, and it needs to be over 2.1 for you to actually sustain your population, let alone increase your population. So, like as a country, we need to have leaders that are putting in place policies that will encourage larger families, that will honour and respect motherhood, that will ensure that the mothers of Australia are feeling like they want to have more children here in our country to help build up our native population. The portion of our population that have links that go back 4 generations. So you mentioned that I think it was 5 generations of Christian heritage in your family. In Australia, the 4th generation links, in 1901, it was sitting at about 20% of the population had 4 generations back at the founding of Australia for federation. By 1980, we were sitting at 45%. It was increasing. Now, today, we're down at 25%. So because they've been bringing in people from lots of different cultures and lots of different countries, the loyalty to the country, the national identity, the Australian way of doing things, it's starting to be forgotten and it's being weakened as a country. And then at the same time, our government seems to be hell-bent on bringing in completely different cultures. So, you know, a Christian-based country is then bringing in larger and larger portions of a Hindu civilization or a Chinese Confucius civilization or an Islamic civilization and just dumping them all into our country and then they're staying within, they're not necessarily all integrating as well. Our government has literally said that they are not in the business of trying to encourage people to assimilate into the country. You can keep your own language, you can keep your own culture, you can keep your own national identity, and you know, just come and pay your taxes and sign up to a few values. But to me, that doesn't help to build a country. That doesn't help to build a national identity. Whereas India has a very strong national identity. You've got a very large population that has been there for a long time, over many generations. And the difference between what our government is doing, which we need to hold them accountable. It's not the people that are coming to the country that are you know, they're just the outcome of policies that are really against the Australia's best interest, in my opinion.
Let me give a good example. If you have seen the Sri Lankan civil war between the Sri Lankan and the Tamil, ethnic Tamil, the LTTE. So a lot of Tamil expats were there in Malaysia, Indonesia, even Australia. They had funded the entire, LTTE movement. They funded them, and with that fund, they brought weapons. And that civil war went to around 30 years. So many millions died. So similarly, so if you don't scrutinize, in my case, I'm telling about the Indians. So I'm not saying that they won't finance civil war, but they will finance such ideologies which will infuse hatred in the society, which will create destabilization in Southeast Asia, in the Indian subcontinent, and eventually it will lead to greater complication. Because if you corner the Muslims in India, which is around 20% of the population, tomorrow if they if they take the part of terrorism, or because it has happened before, that is why I'm saying it is not something new. It is already happening in Kashmir, in the Indian state of Kashmir. So in any community, if you try to push them to a corner, then they will fight back. Once they fight back, then entire region becomes destabilized. So then even that clashes will spill over to Australia also, between Hindus and Muslims. And Muslims, I'm not telling about Indian Muslims, anti-Arab Muslims, anti-Muslims of the Middle East. Then there will be a civil war in Australia, which I don't think you will be wanting. Because if there is a Hindu-Muslim genocide here, Muslim genocide in India, the Muslims will strike back. So it will come to your own backyard. So these things are, I don't know how the Indian politicians are looking at, because this world is not made for only one religion or one class of people. So India is already having lots of problems. And if there is destabilization.
And I suppose you could say that the same thing, with the Bondi Massacre, for example. Why is this hatred starting to build in Australia? it's because of the clash between Israel and Palestine, and this ongoing where people are just feeling that there is a genocide occurring in Palestine, that Israel is persecuting the Palestinians, which happen to also be Christians. There are Christians in Palestine. There are also, there are peaceful people in Palestine that are being persecuted by this genocide, and this hatred that is building across these different ethnic groups and civilizational identities, that is spilling over into our country. And now our government is trying to clamp down on the Australian population by putting in place various hate speech laws, which are taking away freedoms that Australians have to actually talk about and discuss issues, and throwing you in jail for calling out different things that are going on around the world. That example that you mentioned for Sri Lanka, I hadn't heard that before. So that was literally funded by the diaspora to some extent, and then the people fighting are the people on the ground. Did they end up winning? Did the diaspora, that funding, did it actually win, or it just lots of people died and no one actually really became the victor?
No, the Sri Lankan civil war, Tamils were supported by the Indian government. When Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, the Indian government had supplied arms, ammunition, logistics. Later on, things went out of hand, and the Indians had to send a peacekeeping force. Then civil war broke out in a large scale. Many Indian soldiers were killed, around more than 1,000. They were killed. Eventually, when Sri Lanka had made a deal with China, China had offered them with a lot of army, means logistics, arms, and so those. And later on, the Sri Lankan government won because the Pacific area region, the Australia, the corridor, and all the sea routes, it is a very priced place, and Australia is a big market for China also. So Chinese interest will always be there. So diaspora will always be made as a tool. Either you can weaponize it, or you can make a victim out of it. Or if a country does not have good relation with India, they can target the diaspora, Indian diaspora, to punish the Indians. So that also becomes a law and order issue. So what you have been telling in the earlier talks, that the loyalty of the Indians, they are not Indians. Once you surrender the Indian passport, because India does not have a dual citizenship. Like US, a person from the US can have a Israeli passport and a US passport, but an Indian cannot have a dual passport. Once you surrender your Indian passport, you are no longer an Indian. And neither geographically, maybe your religion might be Hindu, but you are no more an Indian. So these people should stop calling themselves as Indian. Indian, what is Indian diaspora? Once you surrender your passport, you are no longer an Indian. You don't like this country. That is why you surrendered your passport. You have no business in this country. So the country you are there, you have to be loyal to that country. Whatever your government says, you have to do it. So coming to a stadium and shouting victory to India, and that is not in a good taste. I don't think so.
That comment you just made about victory to India, and that chant. What is it in? I wasn't aware, because I'm assuming they weren't saying it in English. That was in their native language. I would
They
imagine.
were shouting as Bharat Mata Ki. Bharat means, another word for India is Bharat. Bharat Mata means motherland. Bharat motherland, victory to Bharat. Victory to Bharat Mata. And Vande Mataram is a Sanskrit word, means I praise my motherland. So no harm in saying this in India, but going to a foreign soil, it's like dominating that, as if you have defeated the Australians in a battle.
Conquered it.
So you are a new masters of Australia. So this kind of subjects should be avoided by the bureaucrats. He has Mr. Modi has been ill advised, because you see it will not create good value.
Did you?
It will not create good.
Definitely, the Australian people are feeling that this doesn't seem right. Like, and no other foreign dignitary has ever come, and our government has funded an entire stadium, given free tickets to everyone, and said, "Come," and then cheer victory to India. Like it just seems to be just so, I don't know, colorblind, or just it's definitely the Australian people.
Now, this is a war cry used by the Indian soldiers, and this was a cry the Indian freedom fighters they used when they were fighting against the British. So it has been adopted by all Indians after independence. That is a very good thing. We are very proud of that. But will India allow Pakistan or China to do the same thing? Will India allow Australia or USA to do the same thing?
Exactly.
So that is very ill-advised.
It just does not seem right. But the crazy thing is, we had our leaders, not just the Labor Party, not just our Prime Minister. We had the Liberals falling over themselves, trying to basically. I think they're trying to basically corral the vote. They're trying to ensure that the Indian diaspora will vote for them. And in Australia, it's quite clear in terms of the numbers. Approximately 70% of the people that our government is bringing into the country are voting for the Labor Party. And so you can see why the Labor Party would want to do it, because they feel that these people, it's basically automatically, over time, they're going to end up voting for the Labor Party and ensure that their majority is maintained no matter what they do. And so the Liberal Party, it's suicidal. Like the Liberal Party doing it, they don't seem to realise that all the people that they're bringing in are actually going to vote against them anyway. It doesn't matter what. And I think the real reason is because of the extremely lax immigration laws, which allow you to keep bringing more and will increase the influence of the different diasporas in our country. And so our country has gone from serving the Australian people's best interests to trying to corral the votes for all of these individual ethnic blocs within our country. And it just does not seem to be like a long-term strategy for unity as a country. If you are trying to maintain these ethnic blocs within your country and then thinking that over time as they grow and they go from 1 million to like 5 million or to 10 million with that increasing influence, at some point they're going to go, no, we don't want to live under a Christian way of doing things. And you could definitely see over time there being that tension occurring between the different civilizational powers within our country that we for the first 200 years of our existence, we didn't really have. We had a strong Christian nation foundation as like what the laws were built on, and you didn't have this kind of potential clash that is going to occur. And these, you have a foreign conflict in India between India and Pakistan, and all of a sudden on the streets of Australia, you've got these ethnic clashes that are occurring. It's just like, whoa, why is this occurring here? Like it does not create a strong, safe, peaceful nation. It just seems to be fueling ethnic conflict within our nation.
Yeah, that was exactly my point. I'll tell you when Donald Trump was the president for the first term, Narendra Modi had gone to the US and said, "Ab ki baar Trump sarkar." That means in Hindi, he said next time will be Trump government. And Joe Biden became the president, and then again Narendra Modi went with Joe Biden. The second time when Mr. Trump became the president, he actually avoided, or you can say he snubbed Mr. Modi. So now most of the diaspora, they are supporting. They were supporting Democrats. Now they are supporting the Republicans. So Mr. Modi has some influence on the diaspora, and this diaspora votes accordingly. And you have to remember that India is a very large democracy, and in India, how they manipulate the election, we know that. So maybe some leaf of the Indian election, some pages of the Indian election have been given to Australian politicians. How to win elections, keep on winning elections. So those are actually not fair in democracy. And as you rightly mentioned, the point that the if there is a clash between Indians and Pakistanis, which is very common and which is likely to take place. Just I'll give an example. If there is a high tension India-Pakistan cricket match in Sydney or Melbourne, and if the either team loses, if numerically the losing side is bigger, larger, then they will attack the other one. So, and these things are going to continue. So, I feel that instead of spreading hate, we should start uh, trust building among all the communities. And okay, nationalism is fine within your country, but if you are a good nationalist, then you should clean your trash. Don't litter your country. Don't litter your river. Don't litter your streets. Don't urinate in the open. Don't defecate in the open. That is the first sign of being a nationalist. Just shouting victory to motherland is not enough.
Focus on building your own country instead of taking over everyone else's country. Make your country the best country in the world. Like that's what we should all be trying to do for our own countries. And I'd like to see our nation and our leadership ensuring that the minorities in your country are actually being treated fairly. And that there's some pressure to ensure that even the people within the Hindu community with the caste system that is changed so that this people can be have the freedom to be able to live as they would see fit. It's a system that I hope we don't want it to become a thing in Australia. Like I just can't believe that it is still occurring here. Just one of the last things I wanted to ask you around policies and things that we could do in Australia to ensure that these types of like the caste system does not gain a foothold in Australia any more than it already seems to have. What's some policy ideas that you would give to the Australian people on what you think we could do to help combat that?
No, I think from my experience, I can say there should be a very strong community service that should be made mandatory, like cleaning of public toilets, cleaning of the streets. Each Indian should clean public toilets, irrespective of his caste. I think there should be a caste census in the Indian diaspora. How many are Brahmins? How many are Dalits? How many are that warrior class, etc., etc. And I think it is not unfair because in India also they are doing the same thing. We are having a caste-based census, so that caste census will be taken, and to make sure that every Australian is equal. He might be from India. I think you should do those things that they do not do here. It's a taboo in India. So those things that are taboo in India, I think they should do it. I think they should clean public toilets. I believe only then their loyalty towards Australia can be determined. Every Indian should do community service. They should serve in the hospitals, in the elderly homes, or in the orphanages, or in community jails. They should go and at least give their expertise. Like there are many reform programs in the jails. They can share their expertise. Maybe teach something for the for the jailed people, so that once they come out, they can have a good life. So those kind of things, and I think apart from that, there should be dialogues between other expats like Pakistanis or Arabs and so from the Muslim countries, and I think they should have a history class in the how Australia was created, how much sacrifice they did to make what Australia is today. They should get a brief intro into Christianity. They should know because in India, back in India, they hate Christians. So being in a Christian land, they should be able to work together with the Christians. So in order to work with the Christians better, they should know a little bit more about the Bible and Jesus Christ and the love of Jesus. I think only then they can coexist. So fine, they can build temples, but I think they should understand more about the Australian history, the sacrifices. Uh, and so Australia has a very robust culture of sports. They swim, they play rugby, they play cricket, everything. They're good in Olympics. India, otherwise you see we fare very poorly in sports. So more or less like couch potatoes. So so those things are there. But I think there should be community service. There should be community service.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I suppose that comes back to the Bible calling us to act justly, to love your neighbor, to care for the sick, and all those those values and those teachings that Jesus has given to us through the Bible that the Christians worldwide follow, and that Graham and his family really served the Indian people. And I suppose what you're suggesting around the community service, that would be like as part of getting your permanent residency or getting your citizenship, to do a certain number of hours of community service.
Yes.
To ensure that we're all, no one's above anyone else. Jesus went and washed the feet of the disciples. He wasn't showing himself as being someone above others. He came to serve. And that type of thinking, that type of that love for one another, that being able to treat each other evenly, fairly, that's something that we have built into our country, and we need to ensure that the people that are coming into our country are able to do the same thing. I suppose that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah. Yes, of course. And I would like to request you, if through your influence or through your network, if the Australian government recognizes the services of Graham Staines and give him the highest civilian award or whatever deemed rightly, then or the legacy of Graham Staines will always carry on in everybody's heart. And actually, he is a witness in India because he served the lepers in this country without any discrimination. So, and I apologize to the family through you that what my fellow Indians have done to them, and of course he has forgiven, and as a Christian would do. And yes, of course, community service should be one of the main process to get Australian citizenship or even a visa. They should sign up to clean public toilets, to clean community halls, whatever is needed to do. Because if an Australian can do, they also can do.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. I will definitely pass that on, and we'll ensure that this goes far and wide throughout the Australian community. So, look, Professor Gautam Daniel Roy Chawdhury, really thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your courage, for standing up and being able to speak. And the story like Graham and Gladys, it really reminds us that real faith costs something, and that forgiveness is possible even in the darkest places. And I'd like to see a blossoming relationship between India and Australia. And I'd like to ensure that our government and the Indian government are both putting their countries first and their people first, to ensure that we can both be prosperous and we can both be peaceful, and ensure that we can live in harmony and prosperity. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And if there's any last words that you'd like to share, please go ahead.
The pleasure is all mine. I thank you for this wonderful opportunity to interact with you, and my best wishes to you and your family and the people of Australia. And I think Australia really inspired us. And Shane Warne was my favorite cricketer for a very, very long time, and I really love. And as I told you, my grand aunt also served Australian nursing community. She was in a government deputation, and I'll share her pictures with you. It is there with me in my laptop.
Thank you.
And God bless you, and my best wishes to you. Have a good night.
God bless you, and hopefully one day I'll get to come visit India,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to show me around. It'd be great.
Yeah, most welcome. It will be my pleasure.